because the one thing this car needed was certainly more horsepower. Definitely cherry flavored, but it's decent. It reminds me of, there's something it reminds me of.
Something, yeah.
It kind of reminds me of a vitamin C supplement drink. Anyway, so here we have all of the parts that are now going to be going onto Molly. Still no drift truck, still no metal. Here we have a Precision 4828 dual ball bearing turbo. This is essentially one size up from what the car currently has, which is a Garret GT2560. This might be able to get us into the 400 range. We're gonna get really close, 400 wheel range. Right now it's making 400 crank, aka like 350 wheel horsepower. This will give us more power, but more importantly, more top end. In addition to that, we're redoing some of the things that aren't quite up to Gingium spec, mostly the exhaust. We got all stainless, no mild steel, proper V-band clamps from Mishimoto, got a new resonator. The reason why this is important is because we're gonna have a cutout. It's gonna go into a dual exit. One path will be a straight pipe with nothing but this, nice and loud, a little bit louder than it is currently, and the other path will go through the muffler, so it'll be nice and quiet. We also have electronic boost control. Finally ditching a manual boost controller. This will get us better spool. It'll also get us more control, so we can do boost by gear, boost by TPS, boost by anything we really want. We've got an adjustable wastegate actuator, so we can change spring pressure. And then we have a Kraken turbo outlet, which converts it into a V-band. So we'll have a full 3-inch exhaust instead of a 2.5-inch down to a 3-inch. We're doing all this to get Molly ready, A, to get redemption at downforce battles, and B, to go to Tail of the Dragon. First step, get the old turbo off of there. Bye-bye. That one's going on a fit. Misplaced the jack handle. 1-inch DOM. Or actually, I think it's like 1 1/4 inch. Works beautifully. Oh shit. Oh my God.
Dude.
Interesting. Yeah, no Gingium welded that, bro. Ain't no Gingium. Percent of this is trash, but we are going to use the muffler, so that's still good. And it's the only thing I didn't paint, so that's perfect, because the reason why I painted it is because I welded it with MIG wire, so it was going to rust, which it still did even when it was painted, but not this time. Kids, this is why you use V-bands, so you don't have to sit around for 40 freaking minutes trying to get these rusty bolts off that are in really awkward locations. You only have to get one bolt off that usually isn't rusty because it's stainless steel. But, oh yes, let's go. You know what's funny? The reason why this is 2-inch, 2.5-inch, it's because the clearance is pretty tight there, but it really isn't that bad. Like after working with the drift truck trying to clear the steering shaft,
yeah,
you could fit like a 3.5-inch downpipe in here pretty easily. So Miata, you've served me well, but today is your end. Next step, drain some coolant. Empty. Bro, after all these years, she still feels minty.
That's a lovely.
Ready for another 100K on a fit, yeah. No. This is probably gonna round the fuck out of it though. So I think it's either A, gonna work and get this nut off, or B, round it off. Then I'll have to take the entire manifold off. Not the end of the world, but I was trying to avoid that. Oh, I think it worked. Oh, it definitely worked. It worked. Yeah. Oh, it's loose. It's hand tight now. Let's go. See, sometimes you just gotta sacrifice the tool. Was it worth that cheap tool? I just gotta keep it now. I should write on it, yeah. Moly 4th turbo bolt removal tool. Oh no, the turbo line. Oh no, it's peeing. Ah, my back. That's all I need from the turbo. So this turbo goes on the shelf till a certain Honda Fit is ready for it. Say goodbye, turbo. Bye-bye. You did a good job. Proud of you. Your life will continue very shortly. Oops. Just kidding. Someone tells me that hose is a little cooked. So we've been kind of test fitting this new turbo and we're coming into a few issues. Not really on the turbo itself, but on the back housing. So this awesome Kraken one that is a 3-inch, flows really nicely and fits with my V-band. Really good. Does not clear because it's designed to go with their turbo manifold, which mounts the turbo a little bit lower. So this is hitting the shelf. And even if I cut the shelf off, it's not at a very sharp angle. So I think it's gonna hit. So the best option is kind of impossible unless if I really wanna start cutting things up, which I don't. So then I also have this one, which is the Flying Miata elbow with a V-band welded onto it. This one clears, but the Flying Miata one is like 2.5 inch, much more restrictive, and it is not a good fit for the V-band I got. It's also very warped. You can see through on some of the spots. So then that kind of rules out this one. The last option is to use the Flying Miata elbow that hasn't been modified, that came off the old turbo, but then I have to buy a flange for it. So this sucks. The other option would be I could try to build my own, but there's a reason why all these are cast. It's because it's a very weird shape. That ain't really fitting right there. The easiest option would be to use my factory elbow and then just buy a flange. I think in order to get this to fit, I'm gonna have to literally cut the firewall out and then like box it in. That's a lot of effort. It stinks, bro. This is such a nice piece. Flows so good. Yeah, so it's hitting, you can kind of see the rust here. But like even if I cut this part off, it still has all of this meat kind of underneath it. So I'd have to cut all that out, I think. I was just talking about how V-bands are the way, and then now I'm gonna have to go back to those 4 bolts. Well, unfortunately, I think our only option is to use the factory Flying Miata elbow. It means our 3-inch downpipe really ain't gonna be doing anything because it's a 2.5 inch thing, but you know what? Still a bigger turbo. I wanted to get it as good as possible, but that's not gonna happen. As you can probably tell, this is not a new turbo. A friend of mine who also has a turbo Miata, but his motor is blown up or his car's apart right now, gave me this turbo to use for now. So that's why it requires a little bit of finessing. Had some sort of something welded on it, so I'm gonna grind that down, smooth it out a bit now. So we got the turbo cleaned up, put back together. It's clocked, that's tightened. I gotta put the new fittings on with some new gaskets and stuff. And then I have to get this Turbo Smart wastegate actuator to fit. As you can tell, it's a bit long right now. It also doesn't have the thingy. Oh, that's too loose. Great. Yeah, it's gonna be a problem. How am I supposed to do this without the thingy? How to steal something else off my old turbo? It's getting more and more expensive, the turbo I fit now.
Yeah, that's true sometimes.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut it off, weld it onto something like I did to this. Does this fit that? Oh, yes it does. All right, so what this is gonna involve, it's gonna involve cutting this down, cutting this off, welding it to a nut of that thread. So the only problem, yeah, I mean that seems to work, so I have to space this out a tad. So we got our custom wastegate actuator set up all on there. Wastegate is nice and sealed at rest. Now, I've learned this from the Eclipse. Test it before you put it on the car and try to go rip on it. I want to see what pressure it opens at, and I want to see if it opens and stuff. Problems, it's really hard. Oh, it's 12. Okay. It leaks a little bit, it's unfortunate, but.
It's almost like it's working.
Definitely's working. Starts to open right around 11 pounds, so. The nice thing is that it's really easy to swap it out. You just take that out, take it out, boom, you swap out the spring. So we'll just leave that spring in there. But whenever we go to the dyno, we'll bring some springs with us. I mean, we do want all the boost. We're essentially maxing the turbo out right away, so it doesn't really matter what the wastegate spring is. Oil drain, coolant lines on turbo. And while that dries all the way, we're going to remake both of our turbo lines, because I believe they're leaking. Bro, you serious? Serious right now? Come on. Why? It's literally just. It was a $20 gasket, all right? This wasn't a cheap gasket.
Yeah, this is why you have it on the list.
Bro, T25, T28 turbo flange. SCE gaskets, more like SCE worthless pieces of metal until you modify them to be a gasket. Like that is 3 steps too big of a hole, but you know what? Sometimes it's the way she goes, I guess. Bro, is it just the fucking turbo? Precision, bro. I thought your name is literally in the name. It's supposed to be precise. I'd like to issue a formal apology to SCE gaskets. Clearly it wasn't their fault. Because I had to draw all these out too. Now if it's that the studs aren't very long with this big old gasket on it.
It's moving?
Huh?
You see how it's moving?
I don't think it's moving. It's not moving at all.
It's definitely, bro. It definitely was going.
Bro.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Nightmare. I see it's broken off. What am I supposed to do? I have to attempt to drill it to a larger size and then tap it to a larger size, then helicoil it, then get a new stud for it. Ooh. Ah. No longer will we have to worry about broken threads. Bro. The box was open? Why was... Bro. What kind of shit is that? Cool. This should be able to thread in now. Hey, yo. This one's feeling great. Those coils actually work. In an attempt to maybe make these hoses last a little bit longer than a year, because I've had to replace them twice, both after about a year, put some heat shielding on them. Put a little bit of gasket maker on that, put a little gasket maker on that, put the gasket on, a little gasket maker sandwich. Oh look, it's a fucking gasket that fits. So the turbo's on, all the lines are tightened, it's tightened to the car. Obviously it doesn't have a downpipe yet, it doesn't have an O2 sensor, intercooler pipe's not hooked up, and we can't do all that stuff until we have a little bit more fab stuff. So we gotta fill it with coolant. I'm gonna crank the engine over without firing it over to get some oil in that turbo, because it's been sitting for a while. And then hopefully we can get it to run at least, kind of. It got up to 15 pounds of oil pressure on the gauge.
Should have. I didn't say.
Yeah. Let me try to do it with my throttle a little bit. So there we have it. We have our big turbo installed on Molly, Precision 4828. We've also fixed so many different things and improved so many different things throughout this video. Wastegate actuator is gonna be awesome. All the coolant leaks are fixed, still full, that's good. It's idling much better. I found a vacuum leak, fixed that. I don't know how many years I've had that for, but enough. In the next video, we are going to go ahead and build the new exhaust. You guys saw all the parts at the beginning of this video. Valved, with one way being straight piped, the other way being nice and quiet. And then after that, we're taking it to the dyno, and then taking this and the Rally Miata to Miata's at the Gap. You heard it here first. Gonna be at Miata's at the Gap finally. Now that I live 3 hours away, there's really no excuse. So I hope to see a bunch of you guys there. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you wanna watch the exhaust video right now, you can click up there and become a patron. Huge thank you to anyone who does that. Otherwise, you can get some Gingium merch, support the channel that way. See you guys later. That's definitely louder.